You will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards. But in time, they will join you in the sun, Cal.
Alright, let's talk about why Man of Steel 2 didn't happen. Starting with the mixed reception of the first film. Now don't get me wrong, Man of Steel wasn't a flop. It made some serious cash, pulling on over 668 million at the box office. That's not pocket change, but audiences were kinda split on it. Some people are like, yo, this is the Superman we've been waiting for. Cavill looks like he's Superman, and that Zod fight was epic. But then there is this other side of the internet, you know, the ones yelling, why is Superman so dark and broody? Where's the hope and the smiles and did he just break Zod's neck? And don't get me started on the ending, the destruction of Metropolis. They're turned into one of the biggest memes of the movie. People straight up counting how many buildings Superman let crumble, while punching Zod through half the city. The dude's supposed to save people, not give them new property insurance nightmares, right? Basically, Man of Steel was trying to do something different. It was darker, edgier, more grounded. But that wasn't everyone's cup of tea. Oh, Hollywood listened to those mixed reviews. They see that divide and think, maybe we don't double down on this yet. And that's where the seeds of doubt about a sequel will plant it. Instead of saying let's build on this, Warner Brothers started thinking like, let's mix in some Batman and Wonder Woman and see if that helps. And well, you know how Batman vs Superman turned out. Well, when Man of Steel dropped in 2013, Warner Brothers looked at Marvel and saw the Avengers hype train making billions and went, yo, we want some of that MCU money. Instead of saying let's take our time and build the Superman universe with sequels and character development, they went, nah, let's throw some Batman in there and Wonder Woman and make this a big universe like now. And that's how we got Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice. It wasn't Man of Steel 2, it was Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman. They literally skipped the whole build-up part of a shared universe and went straight to the cramming everything in one movie. While Marvel took about like 4 solo films before the first Avengers came out, DC was like, who's got the time for that? The result, Superman's story got totally overshadowed by Batman's broody vibes. And that whole Martha moment, what is that about?
Why did you say that name?
Like, poor Superman went from being the centerpiece of the DCEU to just one part of the ensemble. He didn't even get his own sequel. His character arc got tangled in setting up the Justice League film. Instead of giving us more Clark Kent, figuring out how to be Earth's greatest hero, Warner Brothers was like, nah, let's have Batman beef with Superman because, you know, it was a shortcut and honestly it backfired. They wanted Man of Steel to be start of something epic, but instead it became a stepping stone for DCEU and Superman got sidelined in the process. Alright, so let's talk about creative differences, because this one's all about the behind scenes drama, and you all know Hollywood loves drama. Here's the deal, Zack Snyder, the guy who directed Man of Steel, had a very specific vibe for Superman. His Superman wasn't just a smiling Boy Scout saving kittens from trees. No. Snyder wanted Superman to feel like a god living amongst mortals. Heavy, mythological, and yeah, a little broody. Think epic. Think Shakespeare and spandex. Now, some fans were into it. They liked the whole gritty reboot approach, but a lot of people not so much. They were like, yo, where's the hope? Where's the guy who makes you want to believe in humanity? Even Christopher Reeve's Superman was like, bro, lighten up. And here's what gets messy. Warner Brothers started freaking out, maybe because, surprise, surprise, Snyder's darker tone wasn't that everybody wanted. They were like, maybe Superman should smile. Maybe we need something more fun like Marvel. But Snyder was sticking to his guns. He had a vision for a full Justice League arc, and that meant Superman's story was going to be heavy. This led some tension on the side. You know, you had Snyder, who wanted to double down on the serious tone, and the other Warner Brothers, who wanted Superman to be more marketable. It's like they were trying to order a Superman Happy Meal, but Snyder was out there serving gourmet tragedy. And because of the clash, Man of Steel 2 just never got off the ground.
Our approach was not a comic book Superman, it was just to do a more realistic Superman, a Superman that exists in a real world.
Instead, they shifted their focus to Batman vs Superman, thinking, well, if Superman can't carry a sequel on his own, maybe we should add Batman and call it a day. Batman vs Superman was supposed to be the epic showdown of the century. I mean, it's Batman and Superman. Two of the biggest superheroes ever. How do you mess that up? But then the movies drop. And instead of being a box office juggernaut, it made $873 million, which sounds good until you realize Warner Brothers was expecting to hit that sweet Avengers billion-dollar mark.
Not in here, not out there. You drop this thing. Nobody cares about Clark Kent taking on the Batman.
Worse, the reviews were rough. Critics called it too dark, too bloated, and too much about Batman having beef over Martha. Then came Justice League. Oh boy, this movie was a mess, plain and simple. Between Zack Snyder stepping down, Joss Whedon coming in for reshoots, and then the infamous CG mustache fiasco happened. The final product felt more like a patchwork quilt than an epic team-up. It tanked at the box office, pulling in just $675 million, way below expectations. So what does this all have to do with Man of Steel 2? Well, Warner Brothers took a look at those numbers and decided, yeah, maybe Superman isn't bankable as we thought. Instead of giving him another solo movie, they started focusing on heroes who were making money like Wonder Woman and Aquaman. So let's bench Superman. It's kind of ironic, right? Superman's supposed to be the heart of the DC universe, but because the DC universe wasn't delivering the hits they hoped for, Warner Brothers basically hit the panic button and shifted gears, and unfortunately, Man of Steel 2 was one of the casualties of that meltdown. So we all know Henry Cavill killed it as Superman in Man of Steel. Like, the dude looks like Superman walked straight out of a comic book. Fans love him, and even the people who didn't vibe with Zack Snyder's vision for the movie were like, yeah, Cavill, he's perfect. But here it gets messy. After Justice League and all the chaos around that movie, Cavill's future as Superman got super murky. Warner Brothers wasn't in a hurry to make another Superman movie, and Cavill wasn't going to just sit and wait around. The guy had other projects lined up like The Witcher, which became a massive hit on Netflix. And guess what? Filming a show like that is no joke, it takes time. Meanwhile, there were also rumors about contract disputes. Apparently, Cavill wanted a bigger payday if he was going to put on the cape again. And honestly, fair enough, dude is Superman after all. But Warner Brothers wasn't committing to anything, and instead of locking him for Man of Steel 2. And then, we had the infamous cameo. Remember Shazam? Superman was supposed to show up at the end, but they didn't even use Cavill. They just showed Superman from the neck down, like he is some off-brand action figure. Fans were not happy. It sent this weird message like, is Cavill still Superman or not? Fast forward. Black Adam. Cavill finally shows up in the post-credit scene, and fans were hyped. Everyone thought, yeah, he's back for Man of Steel 2.
Black Adam. We should talk.
Cavill even announced his return on social media, but then James Gunn and Peter Safran took over DC Studios and were like, yeah, about that. Okay, we're gonna make another Superman with a different guy. So Cavill was out again, and honestly the guy never got the chance to really shine in a proper sequel. His Superman had so much potential, but between studio indecision, schedule conflicts, and all that contract drama, it just never came together. Long short story, Cavill was the perfect Superman at the wrong time, caught in the middle of a studio that couldn't figure out what to do with him. Alright, so let's talk about studio leadership changes, or as I like to call it, the revolving door of Warner Brothers execs messing with the DCEU, because trust me, this one's a roller coaster. Here's the deal, Warner Brothers couldn't keep a steady hand at the wheel after Man of Steel. There was this constant shuffle of CEOs, creative heads, and decision makers, and every single one of them had a different idea of what the DC universe should look like. It's like every time someone new walked into the office, okay, let's forget what the last guy said, here's my plan. And Superman, poor guy, just keep lost in the shuffle. First we had Kevin Shihara running Warner Brothers. During the early DCU days, he was the one who rushed the whole shared universe idea, fast-tracking Batman vs Superman and Justice League before Superman even got a proper sequel. Then he left in 2019 and Warner Brothers brought over Walter Hamada to clean up the mess. Now Hamada had a different approach. He focused more on standalone films like Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Joker. Guess what? Superman wasn't important anymore. He didn't fit into his new, less connected vision of the DCEU. Hamada was basically like Superman. Let's make movies about Harley Quinn and some other characters instead. And honestly, I love Margot Robbie as Harley, but come on, Superman deserved better. And now, fast forward to 2022, and boom, James Gunn and Peter Safran take over as the heads of the new formed DC Studios.
When it first came up, I was like, and it didn't come up, nobody came to me and said, do you want to run DC? But it came to me very early in the process, would that be something you would be interested in?
At first, everyone thought finally a fresh start, but then they dropped the bombshell. They're rebooting the entire DC universe, including Superman and Henry Cavill. So here's the thing, every time the studio leadership changed, so did the plans for Superman. One studio head wanted a dark or broody Superman, another wanted a fun, optimistic, and another one didn't want Superman at all. It was like playing hot potato with one of the most iconic superheroes of all time. Let's talk about James Gunn DC Reboot, aka the final nail in the coffin of Man of Steel 2. And buckle up, because this one a plot twist no one saw coming. Here's what went down after years of the DCEU stumbling around like a drunk guy at the Comic-Con. Warner Brothers finally said, you know what, let's burn it all down and start fresh. Now James Gunn is a creative genius. This is the guy who gave us Guardians of the Galaxy and the Suicide Squad. So when he announced to plan to reboot the DC universe, people were very optimistic. But then he dropped the bombshell. Superman's getting a reboot and Cavill is out. The new movie Superman Legacy is all about a younger Clark Kent, starting out as Superman. It's a total reset, not connected to anything from the Snyderverse. And look, I get it. Gunn wanted to rebuild the DC universe from scratch, and that means wiping the slate clean, but man, it's still a tough pill to swallow. Cavill was perfect as Superman and fans had been waiting almost a decade for a proper sequel. So why didn't Man of Steel happen? Simple, by the time Warner Brothers finally got their act together, they decided to reboot everything instead of trying to salvage the old universe. Superman didn't get a sequel because the studio wanted to start over with a clean slate. And hey, Superman Legacy could be amazing. I'm not doubting James Gunn's talent, but it still stings, does it? Cavill never got a shot at a true Man of Steel sequel, and all we're left with a bunch of what ifs. Classic Hollywood reboot moves, right?
Superman was never real. Just the dream of a farmer from Kansas.
Let me know what you think about this in the comments. Did Warner Bros. Make the right call, or did we get robbed of the Superman we deserved?